Our gardens are ever changing and forever evolving, getting bigger, getting smaller, moving things around, all of that good stuff. But that's the fun of it, right? Being able to change the land as we want, or fix things if we see problems, or maybe we just want to make more room for more beautiful things. Ah, yes, that's gardening. Well, today that's the part I'm after, making more room for more beautiful things. Hi, you guys. This is Nicole from My Carolina Garden. My garden is located in growing zone 8B, and we are in southeastern North Carolina. This section of my garden, which is in my backyard, is an area I've talked about before, saying it really needs to change. I have a flower bed here. We have some privacy screens overhead, which are wonderful. But as the garden extends this way and heads toward the gate that goes to my front yard, we're a little lackluster, but more than that, we're very, very narrow. So from my fence line out, very, very narrow. So I need to add more room to the garden this way. And then I have some plants that need to be put in there, which means ultimately I also want to add to my irrigation. I have one main irrigation line right over here that goes the whole stretch of the garden, and then I have some little tubes that come off of that feed into some smaller pots and things. Well, it's time for some things to change. I have, for example, this evergreen that I got as part of a clearance sale last year. Never got him in the ground. I want him on this side of the fence line, so he's inside my backyard because I want to enjoy him. He's so adorable and has perfect little pine cones, things like that. So time for me to extend the garden bed, and then we'll get into all the goodies that I'm going to be placing around. So it's not only pretty flowers and things that have to find a new space, but instead I also have to move my vegetable containers over here so they could become part of my drip irrigation system. Our summers here are brutally hot, and of course rain is unpredictable, so I really need to make sure my veggies get taken care of. And so some of this space over here has to be for them as well, because this is where they are currently living. I have peppers, tomatoes, they're all over here, and they're sort of protected from the sun in a way, but it also means they're protected from the rain. And I only have them up here so we can mow the lawn quite easily without having to move all the pots around. So many pots of veggies have to get put over into the side garden. The way I started to work out picking out the sod was literally just cutting it into chunks with my little hand edger tool there, or foot edger, however you like to call it. And I want to just take these clumps of grass and turn them right upside down so that the grass is many inches down underneath the ground, and I don't actually have to remove the sod and then fill this all in with brand new soil. I'll just add garden soil to the top of it. That's the idea anyway. There's so much work actually related to removing sod that I hate it. This is like my least favorite part of the job. So I'm hoping that this is just going to make my life a little easier, and I can squish all these pieces back down. And then, like I said, I'll just dig as I need to, or add soil as I need to, etc. So of course, hubby comes out to see what I have going on and to see if he can lend a hand. And he sees me flipping over the sod and he goes, "Wait, will that work? And I thought, what do you mean, will that work? I hope it works. I actually have no idea if it will or not, but honestly, I'm so sick and tired of digging up sod. And no, I did not want to do the no dig method and put down the cardboard and all that kind of stuff. That was not something that I wanted to do right now. So we are going to see. It's an experiment, and I feel like I've done it before in different areas, but today I just thought, yeah, this is it. This is what I want to do. So already we've got the area, I think, already flipped over. So I'm just, like I said, putting down garden soil. I am going to mulch the area on top after as well, so that will help keep the weeds down and that sort of thing. But first I got to see what I need to put in the ground. The tomatoes and the vegetables and all of that are obviously going to sit on top of the mulched area and then just have the drip irrigation going into them. So we'll see. But for now, I have to call it quits because we are off to a barbecue, and then I will be back to finish up this area again. So we are back, and hopefully we can get this area neatened up and tidied up. So here's what we have right now. The current drip irrigation tube that is brown has holes that are already in it, like you purchase them with holes in it. This black tubing has no holes, and we had done that because we knew the blue bench was going to be here and I wasn't going to have any plantings under the blue bench. Since we are moving things around, this black tube has to be taken out and we're putting a new piece of brown in. So what we're gonna have is this full 1/2 inch tube running the length of the entire flower bed. And then we are going to have smaller tubes that are this size, 1/4 inch. And these are going to come out of the bigger tubing and go into all of our vegetable pots. So that is the idea for right now. So hubby is here to give me a hand to get this going. We're gonna move the bench. We're going to make some new holes in this tubing for this tubing and irrigate some stuff. to say that while I haven't really had my vegetable containers in my garden, like sitting on top of the mulch like this before, I kind of love it because it feels very summery, just very seasonal to me, and I'm liking that a lot. So here's what I am now faced with. Basically, I will use the tool that looks like this. It is just kind of like a hole puncher. I'm going to punch a hole in the brown irrigation tubing, 1/2 inch, so that's the bigger one, so that I can attach this 1/4 inch, so the skinnier tubing, into it. Once I do that from down there, these are what my options are. I could either have one small tube come up to each and every one of these tomato and pepper plants, or I can run the tubing across the tops in the back and have a dripper that just comes in each one. The dripper going into each one is a little more simplistic of an idea, so I sort of like that better because I don't really want to overcomplicate this and have a ton, I don't know which one would look better. Not that this is very fancy though. Since this is staying kind of casual, I'm thinking I'm just gonna have a dripper go to each one. I'm gonna start it. That's what I'm gonna do. Okay, so hopefully you will be able to see this from right here. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use this hole punch tool, punch a hole right here. I am then going to use a 1/4 inch easy grip barb coupling. This coupling is going to fit in this hole, which will attach to this smaller tubing. Let's just go to that point for now so you can see where we're starting. Hole punched right here, did not go through the other side. I'm going to put this coupling right into the hole, snapped right in place. And the next thing I do is take my smaller tubing and fit it over the edge. All right, we got snug fits in both spots. The way I have this set up is essentially in 2 rows. My front row here is really kind of the smaller pots, if you will. And then the back row is just the 2 larger tomato pots. So what I think I'm going to do is get the tomato pots closer to each other and have them go on one line, and then put these lower pots in the front on a separate line. I'm just gonna move a lower pot out of the front row so you can see a little bit better. This tomato plant's gonna slide that way, and then this one will come right next to it. Take this one out of the front row for now also, again, just for a better view. So this is how it's gonna go. Here's the new line we just put in right here. I'm going to add a drip end, which looks kind of like a spinning top, into this pot right here. And then I'm going to attach another dripper into this pot, attach another dripper into this pot, and just make it one long line, each one of these pots having a drip though. So, taking this from here, making sure it's long enough to actually get into my pot, and I'm gonna snip it right here. Now that my end is snipped, I'm going to take my spinning top, which is my dripper. It's called an inline dripper. I attached it to the hose here, and I'm going to attach it to the other hose here. What's going to happen is water actually drips out of this surface right here. It's not dripping out of the tubing, it's dripping out of this. So I need a landscape pin to hold it right in place. Here's my dripper. Putting it into the pot using a landscape pin, and I'm gonna push it right down on it to make sure that that dripper stays in that pot. Then I'm going to take my tubing and go to this next spot. Cut it right about here. And I'm going to get another inline dripper. So again, another spinning top. The spinning top fits in the end of this tubing once again. You just push hard to get it a nice tight fit. And then back to my spiral again for the other side. And another landscape pin to hold it into this pot. And then I'm going to take the line up to the front row with the shorter pots. My guess is probably that not everybody would want to have a setup like this. If you are very particular about the look and you don't want to see any of your irrigation tubing at all, totally understand. Then the way I'm setting this up probably is not going to be your style. But for me, because I'm doing very casual style over here, and as I said, this is going to be like my summer garden setup for the vegetables. Irrigation, the beautiful thing about it is you can change it anytime you want to, the drip style irrigation, as long as you can find the fittings that you need. It's very versatile. If you make a hole in something and then it turns out you don't like the hole, you can even plug up a hole. They sell plugs, so little end caps, all sorts of things. But all I'm doing now is just going down the line here, and I will be putting each one of my drippers to the back of the pot. So I just keep measuring out to approximately going to be the middle of my pot, adding a drip end to it. The last pot in the row here gets to end in a special way. So we are going to take the tube, get it over to our pot and make a cut, and that will have our spinning top dripper like we've been using on all of them. Then I have to make a second cut in the tube and actually end the whole line with an end plug so that no water comes just pouring out of the end of this whole line here. So we're going to snip it once. And that's going to have our spinning top on it, so it looks like it is so it's our inline dripper. Then we are going to attach it to this part of the line here, the part that we just snipped. And again, we just want a real tight fitting here. So that's our middle right here. After this part is done, we are going to plug it up. We're going to take one of these 1/4 inch easy grip barb end plugs. And it just simply looks like this. Nothing crazy about it. And that is going to plug right into the end of our tubing. Snug as a bug in a rug. And we're staking it down with another landscape pin. Guess what? I've already changed my mind. This is not going to be the end cap right here, and I'm going to show you what will be. I had this big rock sitting outside the fence, and it had been part of my front yard garden at one point, but I moved it because there wasn't room where I planted the Kilmarnock willow tree. So it's been looking for a new home. So it's going to be here somewhere. This might not be its exact final place, but the rust colors that are shining through here, I love the warm tones of it with the warm tones of the yellow and stuff in the cypress. And then looking to this side, I have 2 urn planters. The one urn planter I just potted up recently, changing it out for summertime with the begonias and stuff in there. And so those 2 are going to be the end of my drip irrigation line instead. I needed some more color here. That's gonna be it. That's what I'm doing. So I had the end cap that I just put on for the peppers. I'm simply gonna take that off because I don't want it to stop, the water to stop flowing there. So end cap removed. And instead, now I'm going to put a coupling on so it has holes, basically the water can pass through on either side now instead. Add that to the end of my tubing here. And keep going for 2 more pots. Still tucking the tubing to the back of the pot and fastening it with a landscape pin. And then I will do the same thing, adding the drip to each of the urns, and then we will be done and it'll be time for the end cap. So for right now, I didn't have a ton of color over here. I have the Texas Red Star Hibiscus that are super tall in the back there. They'll bloom at some point this summer. And then I do have some zinnias that are planted over here and they'll bloom also and add some color. But for now, the urn planters are doing just that and adding some additional color and interest and more dimension to this area. So I'm super pleased with it and thankful to get some more irrigation checked off my list because I still have even more pots to add to it as well. Thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful, and until next time, you guys, happy planting.